I asked ChatGPT to tell me how to explain cases to my students. Just for fun, because I know that some people are using chat to help them learn the language. And what it told me is not really the best, because it said, well, cases are not that difficult. In English, you have different word order, and in the Slavic languages, you have cases which are basically different endings of the words. And it sounds very simple, but as an experienced language teacher, I can tell you it is not simple at all. So cases, in my opinion, are the most difficult thing in the Montenegrin language, but it doesn't mean you cannot learn it. Of course you can. It's going to be much easier for Slavic speakers because they know the concept, also German people as well, because they have cases in their language and some other languages. But let's say Slavic people the most, because the cases system is the same in most of the Slavic languages. And then you already know when to use what's the meaning, what's the purpose, how to use it, and so on. And then the only thing to learn is actually the endings. But for example, English native speakers, everything is completely new for them. And for them, it takes a lot of time to realize, when am I going to use which case? And then we come to the endings. The endings are difficult in terms, there are many of them. They're not that difficult because some of them are matching. But if we talk about the cases, we don't talk only about the nouns. We talk about the adjectives, we talk about the pronouns, singular, plural, and plus we have a lot of irregular forms as well. So what I do with my students, I print a chart for them where you have all the endings of all the cases. And I tell them, keep that chart always in front of you. When you're speaking, when you're trying to speak, use the chart. Look at the chart, and by the time, just by looking at that chart, you're going to memorize some endings. There is another approach as well, that's memorizing certain phrases, but that works for some things. That you cannot memorize everything in this language. You cannot learn everything by heart. You can learn, for example, posle posla, after work, and that's what I encourage my students to learn by heart, because posao is the basic form, nominative, and then in the genitive it becomes posla, and then posle is an adverb, or actually a preposition meaning after. So after work, if you're going to think about that, like how am I going to say it, and you have posle and posao and so on, it requires a lot of time. So basically just memorizing posle posla will save a lot of time, a lot of effort for you, and so on. So some of these phrases are good to learn like that, but mostly you will have to memorize the endings by the time. If we speak honestly, we as a native speakers don't use the cases properly in everyday life. So we use accusative instead of locative and so on. So it doesn't really mean that you have to learn it perfectly, but when you learn the new language, it's your goal to be fluent and to be able to speak with the correct grammar, right? So that's the reason why I insist on learning the cases, but we need to be aware it's a long process, it takes a lot of time, and eventually you will learn it. If you make mistakes, it's not a big deal, we all make them, but at the end, we're gonna get to that point where you will use the cases without thinking too much. I was like, oh, which case do I need here, and then what's the ending that I need to use here, and so on. That's the process in the beginning, but at the end, when you become fluent, it is going to be automatical for you, and that's our goal. So if you want to learn the cases or anything in the Montenegrin language, check my website, learn.montenegrin.me, and also you can find there self-study courses, which are very cost-effective. I get a lot of messages that are great, they're structured in a great manner, and the most important things, you can access them forever. Once you buy them, there is no limit, like they're yours forever. All right, let me know what you think in the comments.